Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about overlooked things. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what are some highly overlooked things in software development? Well, that is a pretty big question. I'm gonna pick one thing. What should we pick? Mm, I'm gonna go with. I think that one of the most overlooked things in software development is the productivity, the systematic uh, disruption of and misalignment of managers and software developers. I think that is probably the best answer I can give you. Let me explain that a little bit. So, from my perspective, I think that one of the biggest problems in software development today is that we simply do not have, in an average company, a effective way to improve our developers' productivity and to align the vision between what the product development department wants and what the software engineers want. We simply don't have an effective management model that actually improves overall velocity of the developers who work in the company when we get to a certain scale. In a small, like, you can absolutely see fairly strong improvements in maybe one or two teams, and that usually, in my experience, is down to the fact that in that specific team they have a group of developers who are fairly aligned on what they want to do. They have certain experience and like they can do things. But to do that at the company level, I think that that is probably the hardest thing. I've never seen it work. I've never seen a manager of any worth who could actually create a cross-team solution where you actually have developers who work really well as an entire organization. It is, I think, almost impossible, or rather, it's an overlooked problem because the thing is, we're most of the managements with the managers within IT that I've ever worked with, they're extraordinarily good at regurgitating whatever is the flavor of the month in terms of business and management strategies and so forth, or to copy paste a model from their perspective that some other successful brand company uses, such as say Google, Spotify, Facebook, or whatever. And the thing is, since that is like usually that is second-hand information, what they're actually doing is not creating a good, strong company strategy or team strategy or department strategy. What they're doing is that they are interpreting what another company is doing, which is something that is usually a fairly intricate process with a lot of nuances and details that is going on the inside, and just taking whatever they are doing and then trying to use their own interpretation of that and apply it to their own company, and that usually doesn't work. It's it's the how do I put this? It is like asking a if you ask a Zen master how to do the thing that that person is doing. Well, to someone on the outside with not that much of, like, not without a lifetime of experience practicing the Zen arts, you might just make the interpretation, oh, I should meditate more. And sure, meditation would be a part of it, but that's just the thing that you see on the outside of the person. You don't see what's going on the inside. And I think that this is the hardest thing and the least discussed topic of any organization, because we're extraordinarily good at creating structures where you simply can't actually move as quickly as you want as an organization. And it's not because you couldn't do it. It is because you simply work in a fashion where the teams, they kind of just do whatever the fuck they want on their side of the fence. Like, they don't care. Like, there's no cross team, like, and some people actually do believe that all we really have to do now is to create more engagement between our engineers so that they get to collaborate more. That's also not a proven effective strategy to do that. What you really, I would say that the thing that is really overlooked is the investment of good, strong leaders within the engineering space. And I'm not talking now about a manager. I'm talking about people who actually, and I'm not talking about architects either. I'm talking about creating a company a structure in the engineering department where the teams themselves actually develop their part of the system, like when they're working together, like they design their piece of the system in a way that is aligned with some type of greater perspective. Now, one company that I think is, again, this is just my interpretation, once again, as I was saying, if you're standing on the outside and looking in, it's a very different perspective. But one company that I really truly feel is good at a structure that I believe could be the solution to this exact thing is Google in this regard, because I believe that one of the things that they have done really well with like what their internal systems are about is that they design their products as if, even their internal things in many cases, as if this was a full-fledged product that they are going to, well, not necessarily sell, but to as if with the same considerations as if this was going to be an open source project, or that it's going to be consumed by hundreds of people or be something that they can sell one day. That is not something that the average IT company does. Because the only thing that the average IT company does not organize its developers in that fashion. You do not do that. What you do is that you kind of just put them in a pile and then you hope that they will do the right thing. And when they are not doing the right thing and you're not getting the numbers that you want, you put in some type of manager who doesn't know the first thing about how to actually get as much as possible out of these people. Because you have a work practice, you have certain work patterns that you want to follow, and that person can't come in there and disrupt all of that, or if they try, they might do something here and there that doesn't actually fulfill the requirements of improving velocity and overall product quality within the company. I've never really seen a good solution to this, and I think that if you could solve this problem as a more standardized way of approaching work, and as I was saying, the dynamics between the engineering department and product development and so forth, it would be probably the most important new standard or innovation within our work culture that we could possibly achieve. But it's simply not something that anybody is addressing at this point. We're very focused on the delivery of the software, like, okay, agile work practices, how do we actually deliver a story and measure the success within a team? We're also extremely focused on CI pipelines and like the practicality of, all right, how do we get this damn code out into production? But what we're not really, as I was saying, what we're not really addressing is, okay, when we develop all of our code, how are we actually making sure that all these teams, that they actually work together? Like, how do we actually make sure that the software that we are developing, it is actually developed with the understanding that this is a cog in a machine, and all the cogs should be of the best quality that we can make them, so that they all fit together. And that collaboration and alignment of people within a large within an IT organization, it doesn't have to be a really big company, that is just not there. There is nothing. I've never seen anybody reach a good solution to that problem. Everybody's really good at optimizing the workflow of an individual team at best, but at an organizational level, never seen it. So what I want you to take away from this is that I think that the most overlooked thing in software development right now is the alignment problem of a growing organization, where I feel that the most unaddressed issue that we have is the complete lack of inter-team alignments, where there's simply not a model or a role of a person or a work process or anything like that that really addresses this in a fundamental way and consistently produces good results. And I think that in a similar way to how I like to argue that if we could solve the problem of culture in front end, most of the issues in the front end space would go away. I think that a lot of the problems within an IT company, like I would even say that we could probably start laying off some people in the engineering department if we could get this thing right. Because the reason why you're scaling your company in almost linear fashion, just adding more and more people, is because the work that is being produced is not at the quality and symmetry, or it's not being, you're not producing work that actually fits into the remaining efforts within the company. You're not able to align your people in such a way that their piece of the system fits very nicely into the overall vision of everybody else. And that inter-team communication problem and inter-team alignment problem is, I argue, probably the main reasons why most of the systems that you see today at larger scale are fairly ugly. They are the reason why you have legacy. This is the reason why you have all of these scheduling problems and so forth. And I believe that the closest thing to a good solution I've seen to this problem is to follow the model that a lot of the projects at, say, Google or these really large companies follow. Design your piece of the system as if it is its own product, as if you had, like, all the people in your company, they are your stakeholders, and the thing that you're building is something that is going to pay your salary. Have a great day.